he went through a very difficult experience, and in a moment he will tell you what he saw and what messages he received. What is difficult for people to understand, what's hard to understand here, is that he is only 15 years old. And when the soul leaves the body, it can receive huge amounts of information in just minutes. That means that what takes years for a person here in this world to learn, there in that world, one can know and understand all within a matter of minutes, everything. So he has a lot to tell. It's hard for him to tell it. He also doesn't have the exact words to describe what he experienced, because they aren't things of this world at all. Since yesterday, I have been sitting with him and encouraging him and gleaning information from him. And little by little, you will see that he knows a lot of things. So I will begin by saying this. He is not from Jerusalem. On Monday, the 15th of Tishri this week, on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, he went with his mother to visit his uncle in Modin. In the afternoon, he began to shiver. He felt cold, his legs, his arms. He thought he needed to rest. He went to lie down and rest. And then what happened after that, we will let him tell you what happened, because it was him. He felt like he left his body through his nose, and he floated above himself. And at first, he didn't understand who he was, where his self was, the self that is lying here on the bed, or the self that is floating here above. Shall we begin, Nathan?
Yes, so what happened is like this. First of all, I was very sick that day, and the day before that I was also dizzy. I had fainted the day before. Now, on Monday afternoon, I also didn't feel well, and my whole body was shaking. I went to rest, I got in bed, I covered myself with a blanket because I was really cold. I don't know how to explain it. My whole body was shivering, and I was in a lot of pain. I felt like suddenly I left my body, and then I saw myself in the bed. I was about 6 feet above my bed. I didn't understand if that was me there. Then who am I here? Or who is the one above my bed? And I wasn't able to understand it. Then I started to float, like I am going up in the air without an elevator. And I rose up and left the room. And I went higher and higher and higher. Should I keep telling the story?
Yes, tell about how you saw planet Earth.
And then I saw the earth from far away, and I continued to go even higher and higher. And then what happened was, I don't know how to explain it, suddenly out of nowhere, I entered a sort of tunnel, really huge, and I see at the end of the tunnel a very small light, and it was like I was in a tunnel. I don't know how to explain it. There were like these circles and more circles, and inside you see lots and lots of souls. And then I just started walking, and the light got bigger and bigger, and finally you reach that light. And that light, I don't know how to explain it. It was good. You feel safe and loved. It's impossible to explain.
Is there any example in this world of a light like that? Can you compare the light you saw to anything that is in this world?
No, it's impossible. You can't explain it. And it was like the light just spoke with me. Like, it didn't say words. It was like you understand it's talking to you and asking questions. If it asked me if I wanted to die. I understood that if I crossed the line of light, then I wouldn't be able to go back. I answered that I didn't know. I had no idea what to do. I don't know. And then what happened was I just walked away from there. Suddenly, I entered a hall, a huge hall, huge, gigantic, and there were lots and lots of people. And all the people were dressed in nice clothes. They were dressed very well, and then I saw myself, and I was wearing torn clothing stained with blood. I felt very ashamed, and all the people were there for me, and they were happy, and they applauded me and everything. And I entered the hall, and I saw Rabbi Yosef, and then he shook my hand. I saw him there, and I saw lots of other people I know who died, lots and lots of people, also who I didn't know. So I was in that big hall, and what happened to me was I just went inside, and there was a very high stage, and on the stage there were 3 lights. There was a very high light, that was the middle one, and on the right side there was a small light, and on the left side there was also a small light.
What are those lights?
They were like somebody testifying about you. The light on the right reveals the bad things you did, and the light on the left reveals the good things you did.
There was a court there?
Yes.
And do you know who was presiding over the court? If there were judges there, who were the judges?
Yes, there was Rabbi Yosef, who was the head of the judges.
The head of the court?
Yeah, the head of the court.
And who was with him?
I think Rabbi Eliyahu.
Rabbi Eliashiv?
Yes.
Who was the third?
I don't remember. I don't really remember.
And then there was good things and bad things.
Yes, there were the two small lights. On the right side you have the bad things, and on the left side you have the good things. You just see this kind of light, and you know what it is. You know what that light is.
You know on your own without being told?
Yeah, you know what it is. You know what that thing is. Suddenly it was quiet in that hall. All the hundreds of people. It was all suddenly totally silent. And then the bad lights started to reveal every bad thing I've ever done in my life. They are strict there about every little thing. Every little thing you do in your life, they will show it all to you. It just talked to me about every single second of my life. Why did you say such and such? Why did you do such and such? And why this, why that?
Sins?
Yeah.
And when that was said to you, how did you feel?
Feel ashamed. It was a huge embarrassment, something that can't be explained because all the people are looking at you and they're showing you your life. It's really, really embarrassing. He shows you that the bad things you did, why did you do this, why that.
Until where did they show you?
Until the time when you left your body.
Everything?
Everything.
In your whole life?
Every second.
Every action?
Every action.
Even hand washing? Everything?
Not only the good deeds and sins, they show you every single second of your life.
What you did with it?
Yeah, exactly. And so he tells me all the bad things I did and everything. And then he finished speaking, and the good voice began, discussing all the good things I did. And then you don't understand how much reward you receive for the smallest thing you do. Really, the feelings of shame and everything, and then the moment he said something really, really little that I did, a little good deed, the littlest thing that you do is considered there to be huge. And when they said the littlest good thing I did, I felt like, wow, it's so great that I wore my tassel that day. It's so great that I did such and such. It's so great, so great. The littlest thing there overturns the entire world. I don't know how to explain it. It's like,
how do you know there is a reward for this or that?
You see that. The moment there is a reward, they say to you, righteous one, righteous one. All the people cheer for you, righteous one. And there is that light that I saw there in the beginning. The bigger the light is, you understand that the reward you have coming to you is bigger.
And regarding the sins?
First of all, there are people that are called angels of destruction that I saw there. They are kind of short. They have beards. In their eyes there is fire. And they show you the sins you did. Everything. Every time they mention a sin, they show you fire. And everyone shouts at you, wicked, wicked, wicked. Just like when you did something good, they shout out, righteous one, righteous one. So they shout wicked, wicked about everything. It's very embarrassing. It's about good and bad. I don't know how to explain it. And then what happened is that the two people took me with wings. They just took me and held both of my arms. They didn't really have arms. I saw everything. I saw something in front and in back. I looked.
Can you see in front and in back? And also on the sides?
Also on the sides.
At that moment, you can see everything around?
Yes, I could sense everything happening to my body and what was happening in the world. I knew everything, but it didn't interest me. I didn't care.
It's possible to know, but it's not interesting?
It's not interesting. And what happened is that those people just took me. I don't know how to explain it. They took me to a lower hall. It was in a sort of hall, and they took me to the hall below it. Now in the hall where I was, it was a place called the Lower Garden of Eden. And then they suddenly showed me a gate, and they opened the gate. Those two people, and I saw people studying the Torah. And I saw the light there, and it was just something really huge, really beautiful. The light I saw in the beginning was nothing compared to that light. Nothing. Nothing at all. This was something good. That was the Lower Garden of Eden. Just think, there were higher levels than that.
Can you describe what it was like?
It's not possible. It's something good, something beautiful. You just want to stay there with them and study the Torah with them. Just to stay there in that place and never leave.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell?
You smell a good smell, just like good smells here. But it just, you can't describe it in this world, what that good smell is that you smell. And you see the light, and you just want to stay there forever, for always. You don't have things there like we have here, material things and things like that. It's all spiritual, and it's something good, something beautiful. It's a feeling. Every feeling is a good and wonderful feeling.
And you understand that's only the entrance to the Garden of Eden.
I felt that it was only the entrance, yes. There was also the inside, and there was also higher levels. That was the lowest level. It was called the Lower Garden of Eden.
Now there is also the other side that they showed you.
There was also the other side, yes.
God created one opposite the other.
And then they took me, those two people I told you about. Remember I told you there were these angels of destruction with those beards? I'll tell you how they look. First of all, they are dressed in all black. They have long, long beards. Inside their eyes there is fire. Those people with the wings at first wanted to take me into the lower Garden of Eden. And then those angels of destruction said, "No, not so fast. You can't. We want to take you somewhere else." Now, those two people just took me. The angels of destruction took me. And then they took me to a place with a scale. Huge scales. They showed me my sins and my good deeds. Every single thing. Like I told you before, the smallest good deeds there overturn entire worlds. Really, you get a huge reward. When you make a blessing, it's something really, really, really gigantic. Something huge. And also a sin. The smallest thing is also something really, really big.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it at all to sin.
Little ones.
Yes, the littlest ones, the smallest sins, are really not good. And then they put my good deeds on the scale like this. And it was huge. You see the good deeds here and the sins there. They put them on the scale. And you actually see it. Here the good deeds and here the sins. And then they show you which total is the bigger. And at first it looked like more sins, but in the end I saw there were more good deeds. I was really happy.
You are fortunate because you were less than 20 years old.
Yes, and afterwards they told me, if you are up here more than 3 hours, you can't go back down. And I felt like I had been up there for years, but they told me I had only been up there for a few minutes. And that was actually right. After I went back down, the whole thing was only 15 minutes, and they told me up there that after 3 hours you can't go back down.
Tell them a little bit about hell.
Hell? Okay.
Not a lot, just a little.
Okay. Now, in the beginning I told you I went higher and higher and higher. And the whole time I was there in that world, I saw thousands of other things that I can't explain to you. I saw millions of things. I can't explain it all, but a lot. Now, when I was up there, I also heard some very, very, very scary things. I heard and I also saw when I went up. I heard screaming, terrible screaming you can't imagine. And the sins that you do, those sins end up there and you'll go there. The sins, it isn't worth it, believe me. You can't imagine what I saw there. I heard people screaming, "Ah!" like that, just screaming from below. Powerful screams. And what you think, what I felt at that moment is that in hell, there are several places. That's what I understood. I understood there are a few places. I also understand what you feel in each place. In each place, the feeling is worse and worse. Now, you feel what it feels like in each and every place. And it's very frightening because every place is very scary. And you feel the place. You know what it feels like there.
Do you know what those places are called?
Yeah, I remember some of them.
Do you remember from there?
I remember from there, yes, what they were called.
Can you give us names?
I remember one place that was called Shadow of Death. That was a place that wasn't good at all. I remember another place called The Pit. I just saw rooms and rooms like classrooms. And from those rooms, fire shot out. Fire just shot out. I don't know how to explain it. Something scary. I don't know how to explain it in words. I don't really know.
Scary.
Very scary, yeah.
And all those names you know from when you were there?
I know that from when I was there.
You know it on your own?
I know it on my own, and I also knew which people were there, and I knew how much time they were there, and I knew what those places felt like, and I knew what it felt like to be there, and it wasn't at all pleasant.
What else was there?
What else did I see? I saw a place like I just saw the universe, and I saw lots and lots of souls wandering about the universe. Lots of souls wandering around the universe. I don't really know how to explain it. A soul is a sort of wind. There are no arms or legs. You look at somebody. He doesn't have eyes, a mouth, and all of that. He has a voice. You know who the person is, and you can talk to him. You don't see a body, a person, or face, nothing. But you know who that person is. You know who he is, and you can talk to him. And you hear his voice, and you know everything about him. What? What? Yes, they told me that. They told me, first of all, That every little thing you get in life, every little bump, the smallest injury, it's all from heaven. Everything is from heaven. So they told me also that because I had to go there, I went there. I had to go there.
Okay, let's get back to that tour. Let's call it a tour. After they showed you that there is the Garden of Eden, and after they showed you there is hell, there is a huge reward for good deeds.
A huge reward for good deeds.
And a severe punishment for sins, even the smallest sins.
For very small sins, yeah.
Now what? They sent you back to where?
Now it's like,
In short, they were teaching you something like choose.
yes, choose.
And you choose.
You choose, yes. It's obvious you'll choose between bad and good and bad. And there are cases when you can't choose. There are instances when you did sins, they finished all of the...
But every man in this world has a choice.
He has the choice.
He comes with a choice.
Yes, but...
If he did a good deed, he gets a very big reward. If he sinned, heaven forbid, he gets a big punishment.
Yeah.
And it's according to a person's choice.
But when you are up there, you can't choose anymore.
There's no choice.
You have no choice.
In death we are free, for once a man dies, he is free of the good deeds.
What you did, and you can no longer fix anything. And let me tell you what I saw after that. They asked me if I want to stay there or not. I told them after 3 hours I can't stay. Yes, sorry, can you hear me now? Yes, both pleasant and not so pleasant.
He doesn't want to remember the things that weren't so good.
Yeah, I don't want to remember. And then...
He decided that he is repenting, and he knows that after 120 years, when he goes back, he will go to the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Can you tell them a little about how you were shouted at?
When they shouted at me?
Yes.
What shouting?
About the tassel.
Ah, which tassel?
About your father.
Ah, and then they told me there are things that I need to fix, such as wearing my tassel. It's something very important. When I was there, I also understood how important that is. I understand how much my tassel is something huge, and it really brings a huge reward. I am telling you, the blessing you make is a huge reward. Gigantic. You turn worlds over there. So the tassel is wow, like huge. Remember I told you that they said I could stay up there for up to 3 hours at the most? So in the beginning, the moment I saw the Garden of Eden, I said, I want to stay here. But after that, they showed me the other side and all that. They asked me if I wanted to stay. I said I would prefer to go back down. Why? Because if I went back down, I could sin more. But more good deeds, I earn more rewards, more of everything. I could, earn a greater reward. And do more good deeds. Reach an even higher level. So why would I want to stay here and not do that? So I said that I would rather go back down, and they sent me back down. They told me that I was up there because I had merit. I'm sorry, what? Yes, that's what they told me. They said I had a merit. I got there, I didn't get there randomly, that's what they told me. What? Before that, I barely wore it. Now I'm wearing it, yes.
Now he has his tassel. Praise be God's name.
So, are you listening? So after that, when I decided I want to go down, I saw something a million times more frightening than everything else I had seen. Everything. What I saw when I decided to go down, they said, no problem, you're going down.
Tell us what that process was. I wasn't there.
Okay, so just what I saw at first. I didn't understand who he was. I didn't understand what this thing was. I saw a regular person, really regular. He actually had arms and legs and a head and everything, but he was really tall, gigantic, huge. He never ended. You look up like this and you can't see the end of him.
What did he look like?
He was all eyes, all eyes.
All eyes?
And fire came out of his eyes. It was really scary, and you feel like you can't run away from him. You can't escape from him no matter what. You can't. He's with you everywhere. He doesn't leave you. Seriously.
Was that an angel?
It was the angel of death, based on what I saw there and what I understood there.
You understood it was the angel of death?
I understood it was the angel of death.
Did he speak with you?
Yes, he held me. He had sort of a pitchfork in his hand, and he held me like this.
How many teeth did it have?
A lot.
Not eyes, teeth.
Teeth. It had teeth.
The pitchfork.
What?
The pitchfork.
Yes, it had 3 prongs.
3.
Yes, 3. And then when I saw it, after that, he came to me like this. It was something so scary. I can't even describe what it was, what that person was, what the thing was. It was really scary. And it was like he just held me like this with his sword, with that pitchfork. Something scary, terrifying, and terrible. He held me here on my chest. Like I said before, it matters where they hold you, right?
And where did he hold you?
He held me on my chest, here.
And what did he say to you?
He said to me, do a lot of good deeds. Why? In the end you pay. Even if you don't do anything, you will pay in the end. He told me what I had seen there was nothing.
What voice does he have? A pleasant voice or frightening?
No, not pleasant at all.
What voice did he have?
Really loud, like, yes. No, really, this is serious. It isn't a joke, but something scary. I'm telling you this like it was all good, but it was super scary.
He's trying to make out of this
15 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes, yeah.
Yes, gentlemen, that is what I said in the beginning. It's hard to understand, but what we can acquire in years of learning, there you can understand everything in 1 minute. Take note of what he says. He says, I understand on my own and see on my own. And he isn't the first who was there and came back. I personally know many, many more like him. They all say the same thing. A huge amount of information in a second. That means that a person can be in one place and he knows where his father is and where his mother is and what is happening with them.
I knew everything.
Every event of his life passed before his eyes, and it's just the world of truth. In the world of truth, everything is revealed. There is nothing hidden. The soul can receive. There is no limit to what it can receive. We are here in this world, and we are limited in what we can receive. But there are no limits. The soul is not limited. So a person can, in just minutes, learn information and everything that happens there, all in just 1 or 2 minutes. 15 minutes is a long time.
Yes, it's a lot of time.
In terms of above, 15 minutes is a lot of time. We also know that Rabbi Isaac Luria, may his memory protect us, said that during the third meal of Sabbath, he would doze for a minute or two. When he was asked, Rabbi, where were you? He said, I was above. I heard new interpretations of the Torah. So tell us some of the interpretations. And then he would say, only if you have 70 years to spend for me to explain those 2 minutes.
Yes, I saw a lot of things.
That means that there is no explanation. There is no sitting in classes and somebody comes and teaches you and gives you a test. And if you don't understand, you take a retest. But that doesn't happen there. It's just you get there and you know the truth on your own, instantly. There is no time. It is a dimension beyond time. When he says 15 minutes, that is his concept. There, it's a world of eternity.
What? It's not good. It depends on which places. It depends on which places.
Would you want to make the same rounds? Would you want to do the same thing again? He only wants the good things. He doesn't want to remember the bad things.
I wouldn't advise anybody. I would advise only the good things.
He advises us to learn the Torah, fulfill good deeds. The reward is great. And in that way, man won't suffer there above. And he will receive a great reward. And he will say, again, repeat and emphasize that what they showed him there are the gates of the Garden of Eden. That was only
The beginning.
Only the beginning, the lowest level. Now you say that you are a soul there. In the form of a soul there, you understand things automatically.
I knew things automatically. I know what will happen in the future.
You have no questions. Everything is clear to you, and you know. You just arrive at a place, and you already know what and who. You see a soul, and you know who it was in life. You see a soul in hell, and you know what he did and how he feels. You don't need to ask. You know everything alone.
I also know what will happen in the future.
Let's go to that hour when they opened the Garden of Eden. When they opened the Garden of Eden, what did you understand? understand. Excuse me for a moment. Questions at the end, okay? No, don't answer. When they opened the Garden of Eden, so he explained to us that it was the lowest level, the lowest of all levels. And you saw people there sitting and studying the Torah.
Yes.
Can you tell us who those people were?
I saw people.
Not names and where they lived, but what type of people they were.
What kind of people they were? They weren't the Torah scholars or anything like that. They were just people who set aside times for their Torah.
They set aside times for the Torah study?
Yes.
And you understand that there is more than that.
I knew that there was more. A lot more than that.
So Torah scholars are more?
Torah scholars are more.
There are higher levels?
Higher, yeah.
And what do you think the highest level is?
The throne of glory.
And who reaches that level?
Anyone who repents.
Anyone who repents?
Yes, but not from fear of punishment, but from disgust of sin, from reverence of heaven. This is how I understood it. The very, very highest, the higher level you go. You remember the light I told you about? That light there is bigger.
Who teaches the others?
Wow. I am telling you that a blessing is huge.
Just a blessing from the Torah. That is something huge there?
Gigantic.
So the Torah lesson is bigger than the biggest. And if you teach others,
Wow.
that's good, wonderful. Now wait a second, just a second. We want to go back to that point before we lost direction here. I want to go back to that point where you are there and you understand everything for yourself.
Yes.
So they showed you the two ways, that there is here and there. But the audience sitting here more or less knows all of that. That there is this and that. You are just coming now and strengthening for us what we read in the books and learned. Now, what is more interesting for us? I want to ask you questions about the Messiah.
Okay, great.
Could you know who the Messiah was?